So yes, guys, and welcome to a special episode of the Ghostoul Podcast tonight. As you can see at the moment, we have some awesome guests in us. We have Ali, we have Andy, we have Phil and Sara, and we also have a very special guest coming as well. He's a bit late, but shh, make sure you spam Ciaran O'Keefe. Where are you, Ciaran? Put it in the comments. No, he won't come on now. So, hello guys, how are you? Welcome.
Hi.
Oh yeah.
Hello.
Are we all good?
All good.
Yep.
That's what I like to hear. So tonight's topic is mediums in the paranormal. Do you have a purpose? Obviously, we have Ali and Andy here, who are mediums, and very good ones from what I've experienced. So we'll just be talking about that tonight, getting the skeptical side from Ciaran and Sara and Phil. Hopefully we're all good. We don't argue. We don't fight.
I think myself and Andy could be skeptical as well.
Oh yeah, I know that. Yeah,
doesn't mean to say we're not skeptical about certain aspects of the paranormal.
no.
Absolutely, yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, no, yeah. So obviously there is. Everybody seems to be a medium at the moment. You go on more public events, and people you worked with a couple of years ago, they're now mediums. And is that okay? It seems to be the in thing to be a medium within the paranormal. Have any of you guys experienced that while ghost hunting recently?
Oh dear. I think since COVID, there's been a lot of people just turn up on Facebook going they're tarot readers and they're trying to make a quick buck on there. We know names, Mickey. I've said to you about people you've been out with, one specifically. And he's just out there for the money. Do you know what I mean? And they're just picking it up, going, "Oh, right, I'll just do this because it's easy." They think it's easy, And
Yeah.
I have seen it. To be honest with you, it's a little bit irritating. It's a little bit annoying because people like myself who have been through the old school way of development, sitting in circles and everything like that for years, before even doing anything professional-wise with it, having to do 100 readings, for absolutely free, going through the spiritual churches and everything like that, developing properly, and then all of a sudden someone comes out and goes, "Oh, I do tarot," and they're making this, that, the next thing they're getting 100,000 followers and everything like that. It's like brilliant, but that is purely entertainment, that. But I have seen an increased inkling of it, but everyone thinks it's flashy. Everyone thinks it's the next step to being a paranormal investigator, and it's what? I didn't come into the paranormal to be a medium. I was an investigator first, and it just so happened it found me. And past experiences now add up to what happened and what's happening now. Do you know what I mean? It's just, you learn a lot. Every day is a learning day, isn't it? But I have seen a lot of people just going, "Oh, I've picked up a name. I'm a medium." It's like, it's not. It doesn't work quite like that. It doesn't mean you're actually a medium. It just means that maybe pick something up. And everything's energy, and everything is energy, and energy is everything. Okay, so it's very much where you can tap into an energy, a frequency, a vibration. You don't have to be special. You're not special. I mean, mediums aren't special. We're just normal. You know what I mean? We've just had experiences and we've pushed ourselves to develop in a specific way. But I believe that everyone can tap in to that ESP, that sixth sense, so to speak. But hey, it's babbling now. Waffling. Don't worry.
So it's all right, good. It's a good man.
I'd agree there. I'm going to speak up for you, buddy. Yes, absolutely right. And I think as well, doing public ghost hunts, you do see a lot more of the public now coming through and stuff that's, how can I put this, that's not genuinely there. Yeah. And it does get a little bit annoying, and I don't know if you feel this way, Ali, but growing up and seeing stuff I didn't want to see as a kid, quite horrific. You know, you don't want to go through that. It affects your life, and then for somebody
No.
to come along and say, "Oh, I'm now doing this and I'm doing that, and I'm really good at it," it's like you've not been really through the pain that gets you where you are.
Exactly that. It's very true that, because I've been through hell and back technically, with a lot of experiences I've had, and it's not fun. It's not great. Do you know what I mean? And it's not a flash thing at all. It's not an exciting thing. You know, it's as you say, pain. You go through every single emotion, but look where we are now. You're able to help people because you've been through every single bit of emotion there, the highs, the lows, absolutely everything. I've been through a lot of situations, you know, even suicide, you know, even going to that thought process of that, you know, being in real serious dark places, but then all of a sudden being able to just pull yourself out of that with this inner power that came literally at the time out of nowhere to kind of go, bloody hell, what am I doing? What's going on? I'm only a teenager. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But then it also comes as well with a lot of grief. People, you know, it's not a fun thing being a psychic medium a lot of the time, especially in this day and age, because people just see other people and think, well, they must be like them. And it's like, you have no idea of the development I've had, what I've had, the sacrifices I've had to go through for it. It's not been plain and simple and easy. There's a lot of, you know, health risks to it as well that I've had anyway. And it's just part and parcel in it. It's just, I see exactly what you mean with that, Andy. Go through it yourself, the pain.
Yeah. You have to go through the pain to actually help, don't you? Exactly what you said. You know, your experiences will help others that you're leading for in the future, and that's why we have to go through it. But as a kid, I didn't want to see the stuff that I saw. I didn't want to experience that. I just wanted a normal life. Yeah. That was it. But you do get through it, and it does work out. But yeah, I think people are taking the mick a little bit at the moment. Yeah.
So how long have you guys been psychic, and kind of how many years or whatever?
I mean, so I started I was actively involved in the paranormal in 2007. And then in late 2008, I was invited into a private circle by Richard Stibbles, a spiritualist minister and a very good spiritualist medium, trance medium. I was invited in Perth in Scotland into his development circle. So I sat in there for a good couple of years, 2.5, nearly 3 years of that, learning all aspects and mechanics of mediumship, mental mediumship, physical mediumship, trance mediumship, crystal healing mediumship, everything, every aspect of the paranormal as well, because we'd go into how we can use mediumship within the paranormal, how can we help, how can we connect, and how can we assist people with hauntings, and how do we get rid of an energy, how do we release as well spirit beings from the non-physical world as well, going into that. So rescue mediumship, all aspects of mediumship was in the spiritual healing, the whole lot. And because of Richard's connection with the spiritualist churches, SNU, I went through that kind of process within the spiritualist churches as well. Yeah, it was just a heck of a journey. But it was about 2011 I became professional in what I was doing. So I was doing professional readings. I was working at the time with a company called Psychic Friends, and then Psychic TV. I did a reading for Nicola Kelleher. I didn't realise that she was at the point, in a way, maybe I should have. But after the reading I gave her, she asked me if I wanted to be screened for Psychic TV. I thought to myself, I'm unsure about this. Richard was telling me, oh God, I'm not sure if this will be a great step for you, but I did it anyway. Yeah, I did over 40 live TV shows on that. And it was an experience, put it that way. Great Portland Street in London. It was a great experience. I always say I have no regrets, you know. And it was very interesting. So yeah, I started off in the paranormal, not being a psychic medium, and then it just happened, and I just went with the flow.
So, what about you, Andy? Have you always had that kind of ability then? Because you just mentioned that when you were a kid, you didn't want to see the things that you see.
Yeah, it really started about the age of 7 for me. I grew up in a normal 1930s semi-detached house near Birmingham, and nobody else experienced stuff in the house. But I'd walk to school with my mum, and I'd say, "Who's that strange woman over the road pushing that really weird pram?" And like, there's nobody there. But she was really supportive, and yeah, I'd see all kinds of stuff in the room, in my bedroom, and at school, and I'd say to my friends in assembly, "Who's that new teacher standing up there?" And then teenage years, you just rebel from it. You don't want to know. you don't want to be the weirdest kid in the room. You want to be the coolest kid in the room, mate. Do you know what I mean? So you try and push it back, but then I'd give messages to my friends, and I lost a few friends because of that. Even though the messages were right, they just didn't want to know. They couldn't comprehend it at that age. I couldn't comprehend it, so it was just mouth shut, not saying anymore, done. And then about when I was 17, so that'd be 1987, I started going to spiritual research and just developed from there. And then I think really jumped into it about 2005. Really started getting onto the ghost hunting scene, and then we opened up Snevic Baths, the paranormal investigations and stuff like that. Really took it from there. But yeah, it's been a bit of weird.
I think, can I just come in, because I touched, just to touch on something that you said, Ali. You said that that anybody can develop this ability.
Yeah, because I don't believe we're like superheroes. We're not like. Hello, Ciaran.
Hello all.
Yeah.
I don't. I believe we have come into this world exactly the same. Okay, with maybe different complications or anything like that for some, unfortunate and everything like that. But we all come from the woman. Okay, so we all are born the same way, right? So we all come from what? A non-physical. So we are into the physical now. But we're all the same. So why can't we all tap in to, that
Okay.
sixth sense?
On that, you see, I always see it as that it's a gift. People call it a gift, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
If
Yeah.
you, say, for instance, if you're an artist and you've got that gift that you're able to draw, and yet other people can't. So you're saying that if you can't flatly or you can't sing or whatever, that you can learn that skill. You can, even if you feel like you're as psychic as a brick, you think that you are able to develop that skill to be able to become a medium.
Yeah, I do believe so. I mean, I could be a very good artist if I put my mind to it. If I actually wanted to learn, I don't really want to because I'm really bad at art, to be fair. And singing, well, I mean, you could do anything if you put your mind to it. That's the thing, though, right? You can do absolutely anything. If you live a life with limits, you will have a limited life. Do you know what I mean? I live a limitless life because I see I can do X, Y, Z. And that's not a cocky thing. That's just coming from what I want to do in my life and everything like that. Do you know what I mean? But I believe because we are all the same, we have the same ability to be able to do so. But I understand what you're saying completely with that, because what happens if someone is, as you called it, psychic as a brick, but maybe there is a want to not do that. Maybe there is blockages. Maybe there is an emotional block from someone that doesn't want to. Or it's not for everyone, is it? Not everyone wants to. Not everyone comes into. I didn't come into this world as like a 5-year-old, 6-year-old telling my people at my school that my mum has just had a child, right? When my mum couldn't have children, and I'm adopted, so is my sister. And I said her name is Wendy, and then give this kind of thing of, she's just had it, and I thought there was a baby. I was saying there was a baby. 5 years younger than me, that would have been. And then finding out in my 20s that I do actually have a sister called Wendy, 5 years younger than me. Things like that happening to myself. I mean, unfortunately, I had severe trauma happen to myself when I was 1 year old, which I have read and which I'm experienced that trauma can possibly enhance or entice some kind of further ability, ESP, and going to that sixth sense. So trauma could possibly ignite something like that. But the experiences I've had, I didn't sit there and think I want to be this, but I just believe that anyone can be whatever they want to be, but we all have the same senses, don't we? So surely we're all built the same. So surely we can connect the same.
So if we're getting back to Mickey's original question then, and we're talking about people that are coming along on public ghost hunts, which myself and Phil have not done for a long time now, and proclaiming to be mediums.
Yeah.
Basically, you're saying that is so that they could actually be mediums because they've developed that skill.
They could be sensitive, yeah, absolutely. But have they done the time? Have they sat in the circles? Have they listened to people who, sorry?
So they would need to do that to be able to develop to that point.
Well, to a specific level, yes, absolutely. Just like doctors, I can't just become a doctor and not go to university and do 6 years at uni. You've got to be able to, sit there and do the time, do the work, the learning, I suppose the technicality of it, the mechanics of it, the practical of it as well. Because it's not just about the practical either. It's about the theory of it as well, and putting the time in. But it is a little bit irritating that someone could just come along and just go, oh, that's that, like they have done, and then the next thing they're just like, boom, straight out there, but they've got no previous experiences or anything like that. But it's one of them, isn't it? I'm lucky that I know what I can do, and I know my limits as well with it.
Yes. So, hello, Ciaran. Good evening. Sorry.
Sorry to
That's all right.
turn up late. But it's just been fascinating listening to the conversation. Fascinating, to hear Ali and Andy's perspective on this, but also, grateful to Phil and Sara for their questions as well, asking about where this ability comes from, and then kind of coming back to this question about mediums appearing on public investigations. And I still do public investigations for my sins. And I know what you're talking about. There are people that suddenly are sensitive and they're able to get information. I guess that there's two things, and we can discuss this a bit further, but we've got to recognize, I think, in terms of what you're saying, Ali, in terms of how you developed, and the same with Andy, we've got to recognize that some people have to start somewhere. And the problem with the investigations is you can get somebody who just will suddenly be sensitive and they'll start kind of relaying information about the location or relaying information about the room or even about people actually in that room. But that could be that there has been a trigger, there's been some sort of awakening. So we've got to recognize that there is a starting point, and for some people that may be their starting point. That might be their awakening. They're suddenly starting to get mediumistic messages. I think the issue that I've got, which is potentially where we might have agreement in the room, is when you've got somebody like that and then everybody latches onto that and goes, now the investigation is going to be steered by that information from that one person. I think that's where it becomes an issue for me.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah. I wouldn't disagree.
Yeah, so obviously that was pretty much my original point, because I've had lots of experiences of public events where, I'll give you one example. I was at a certain location and I'd never been with this team before, and it was more spiritually led, the vigils. They did a lot of physical like spiritual work, like human pendulums, lots of seances. They were putting ideas in people's heads. So a ghost is going to walk around the room and push the chosen person to their knees, and then at one point we had 5 or 6 people dropping down, and I'm thinking, this is just suggestion. Like, they're putting ideas in your head. You're going to, any type of feeling, you're going to think, oh, it's getting me, it's picked me. And they're subconsciously or unconsciously, whatever, they're just falling forward. And in the end, it looked really embarrassing. And thankfully, I've only been on one of those once. But I just think this is what gives mediums a bad name. And that was sort of my point I was trying to get across. The fact that there are mediums that I've worked with, you two boys there, very good from what I've experienced, and they are giving you bad names by, maybe not being
themselves a bad name, Mickey.
Pardon?
They're giving themselves a bad name.
Oh yes, I know, but they're sort of like using, we're mediums, we're sensitives, we can sense all these things, and they just look really silly, and I don't think that is good for the paranormal. But obviously I'm not a sensitive, I'm not a medium, but I do feel emotions sometimes. It's normally bad stuff, feeling sick for no reason whatsoever. That is all I ever get. So I'm not saying I'm a medium or a sensitive or probably an empath. I just, from time to time, certain locations, I just feel really ill and I have to leave, and then I come back again and I'm fine. But what that is, I don't know. But I'm definitely not a medium. I can't see, I can't hear. But
would you want to?
No. To be fair, I don't think I would. I quite like the simple life when I go on investigations. To be fair, because if all this does happen, and this is a question for Ali and Andy. Is there a time where, if you're getting messages from spirit world or whatever world you call it, is there time when you turn off? Is there an off switch? Do they just like, no, just I want my peace this evening? Or is it all the time? Is that how it works?
I can switch off. Yeah. Not 100%, but I can switch off to have like a normal life. And that's what I want to do. I want to have a normal life. And when I want to investigate or when I want to do a reading, then that's fine. But you put your ground rules in, you stick to them. So, yeah, absolutely. But if I can just go back to Sarah's question about what Ali was saying, I'm just going to disagree with you slightly, Ali. I think, yes, everyone can tune in, everyone can adapt, everyone can learn. But I think some people have a very natural born ability sometimes, just like in sports people or musicians. I can't play a musical instrument, I can't play a note, but I can speak to a person. I don't know what kind of skill that is. I don't know. But, my son Jack, he can pick up a golf club and he's absolutely fantastic. Never played it before. So some people are more naturally in tune, but it doesn't mean that you don't have to practice. And I think where we're coming from, it is the practice. Just like any footballer will need to practice and practice and practice to get to the top of their game. We're the same, if that makes sense.
See, through my development, I used to get messages quite a bit at the time, a lot. And I said to Richard, who was mentoring me, I said, bloody hell, I'm getting my spirit guides coming through every single night. I'm relaying messages to friends and family and everything like that constantly all the time. He said, well, be thankful for that right now, because it's not going to happen all the time. And that is to basically fine tune you, is to basically, so you're learning with them and everything like that. And he said, honestly, it's not going to, as you get more control, it's not going to happen. And I just thought, yeah, kind of whatever kind of thing. But it's true, because you learn that control, as you said, Andy. You learn to switch off. You learn opening the 7 main chakras, then closing the 7 main chakras, and then grounding yourself and not being pestered. So yeah, it's the people that will say that happens every single minute of every single day maybe just don't have that control.
I'm also going to push Mickey as well, because related to what you've just said.
Yeah.
Why couldn't that be mediumship? You say that you react to the environment and you might have an experience, but thank God you're not a medium and communicating with spirit. Mediumship is communicating with spirit, right? As a definition, it's that contact with spirit.
Yeah.
And we recognize that there are lots of different ways that you can do that. Mediums talk about clairvoyantly, clairaudiently, clairsentiently, even, that kind of sense of it. We also know we've been using the word sensitive as well and distinguishing that from mediumship. But who's to say that we're not dealing with a spectrum of abilities that is from a general sense that there's something not right in a room, or general sense that it's positive or negative, all the way up to communicating directly with through verbal means and through clairvoyance at the far end of the spectrum. How can we say that is not mediumship? Because effectively that could be.
Yeah,
That could be mediumship, and it could be at a very, very early stage of development, or it's nothing about development at all. It's just you're picking up on something in the room, positive or negative. If you don't then choose to develop it and go further with it, then that's it. That's all you're going to experience. And maybe Ali and Andy have been in a position, or sounds like they've been in a position where they've been doing a lot of development work, a lot of practice, and they've got to a point where their mediumship is very, very different from an early start, which might be sentient or clairsentient or getting a little bit of information coming through. I'm throwing it out there as a possibility because, we're very dismissive of people's experiences, and in the context in which I work within universities, people are very dismissive. Scientists are very dismissive of mediumship experiences and haunting experiences. And the argument I always come back to them with is, how can you be dismissive of these experiences when actually there could be something interesting going on? Don't know if it's supernatural, but it could be something really interesting. Have you ever been in that scenario where you walk into a room and there are two people in that room and you get an instant sense that they've had an argument? For whatever reason, you walk in there and you could argue as a psychologist, maybe it's the body language and stuff, but you have a feeling, an instant feeling. You walk into the room, there's something about that atmosphere. Now, that is tapping into a potential sensitivity, isn't it?
I was literally going to say the same thing about walking into a room and you can, when you feel that somebody's had an argument and you can sense it. And then you've come out with it, so maybe you're a little bit.
Maybe we've got a psychic link there. That's what it is.
Just to the time when we were at one of the venues together down it was in Hull, remember?
Yeah.
We were filming for one of the episodes, and we had that weird experience where we just had to get out of there.
That was quite fun. I'm looking forward to people watching that.
Yeah. How do we know that we can't interact one way, but they can interact with us in one way? If you know what I mean? How do we know that that's not whatever might be their spirit, whatever we call them, or the atmosphere of the venue, or what is ever imprinted in the atmosphere, etc., is not having an effect on us, rather than us being able to? You know what I mean? It might be a thing.
Yeah, we're just thinking, we want you to make a noise or move something. We're not actually expecting to get a different sort of communication. Like Ciaran said, maybe I'm feeling something, maybe you were feeling something. There's a sense of dread in the room. Obviously, it's pitch black, we can't see nothing. So it's not like we're feeding off what you're saying or what I'm saying and how we're acting, because we can't see each other. But yeah, I think that could be right.
That was a weird thing, though, wasn't it?
That was, yeah. You ran out of there.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Next question.
Hey, Mickey, that happens to be the same place that you sent me in by myself.
I did, yeah. I do apologise.
Yeah, thanks for that.
You're braver than Phil.
I am. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh dear. Yeah. So I'm a bit surprised, Ciaran. I'm loving this openness to mediumship. I love it.
Oh, don't be surprised. I'm just warming up.
So, what would it take? Oh no, we'll save that question. Have you ever experienced any of these things that we've been discussing so far on an investigation that you've been on, or even at your house, or somewhere where you're on your own, that you think,
Are you talking to me?
I am
Yes.
talking. Yeah, I'm talking. Yeah, I am. You're Ciaran.
That's fair enough. Yeah. I'm not very sensitive, am I? Picking up.
No.
Have I ever had anything? I thought you were going to focus on mediumship, but now you're asking about haunting type experiences, aren't you? Rather than
Well, no, you've brought up my experience, which I think is just
Yeah.
from ghost hunting, and you've put it out as possibly mediumship.
Absolutely.
So I would like to put the question back on you now.
Which is a lovely question, because then it gets to the root of my skepticism.
Okay.
And that is, yes, I've had maybe a couple of experiences that are a little bit odd. SS Great Britain, lower class accommodation in SS Great Britain, and feeling spooked. And I wish there was a better word for it, but most listeners will understand what that means. You just feel spooked about a location, not strong enough that you're going to run out of the location, but you feel kind of odd about it. And don't know why it was. It wasn't suggestion. It's not, any reason why I would be scared. The moment has gone. Now there's a possibility where we can argue back and forth. I felt spooked. So am I picking up on something in the environment, as in something supernatural? Am I suddenly sensitive to the environment? The problem I've got is that moment's gone. So it only happened that once. If I go back into the location and it keeps happening, then you've got a scenario where you can test for other possible explanations and discount them.
Yeah.
So walking into that environment, feeling spooked, I would think, is there an environmental explanation for this? Is it down to electromagnetic fields? Is it down to infrasound? Is it down to something like that? Because it can't be psychology, because it's not the suggestion of walking into a haunted environment, which by that point I've been into hundreds and hundreds of locations, and I generally don't get scared. So the frustrating thing for me is that is a moment where you could easily come back to me, Ali or Andy or anybody, and say, well, Ciaran, maybe you were sensitive to the ghosts that are reported to dwell in that area, or the spirits associated with that. And I would have no comeback on that, because my only comeback would be speculation about there being environmental explanations for what's going on, which I can't measure. I can't go back and look, because the moment has gone. If I measure it afterwards and I can show there is infrasound or show there's EMF, it's still only speculation. How do I know that that was happening at that point for where I was feeling spooked? I don't know that at all. And that's the frustrating thing, but also for all of us here, I'm sure, as well as being a frustrating thing, that is also the exciting thing that keeps us in the game. Kind of asking those questions and trying to find out what's going on.
Yeah. So what would it take for you to, or how would this happen for you to believe in mediumship, Ciaran?
Oh, that's a really good question. That is a really good question, and I'll be absolute honest now, and this is going to sound really harsh, and this is not having a go at mediumship and not having a go at Ali and Andy. So I'm going to say it and then explain why. Nothing. There is nothing that will convince. There is nothing that will convince me of mediumship. Nothing, and I'll explain the reason why. It's because, yeah, boom. It's because if you come up with a message for me or information for me as a medium, there are, in my mind, so many alternative explanations for it that are natural and also are supernatural. And what I mean by that is, I find it very difficult. If you were to come up with accurate information about a departed relative of mine, how do I know that that isn't telepathy? How do I know that you didn't get that information clairvoyantly? And I don't mean it as a mediumistic level. I mean, using a sense that you can see something but without your eyes, that you didn't pick up on a diary entry that I had written some point, which would be different to telepathy, but it wouldn't be mediumship. And that's what I mean. Even the most accurate information that you could come up with about somebody connected to me could not prove to me that mediumship exists. I just have to be open-minded to the possibility. But you cannot prove to me, because even in the most controlled experimental setting, if I were to set up an experiment to test mediumship, all I would show, if a medium could operate and could produce some information incredibly accurately in that experimental setting, all you'd be showing is that there's some form of paranormal communication, which is amazing, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's mediumship. Because in order for that information to be accurate, that information would have to be verified by somebody, somewhere, either the person getting the reading or at some point in the future. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's mediumship. That's what I'm getting at. And that's why I said there is nothing that would convince me. I'd love to get a message. There's nothing that would convince me that it's mediumship. The only caveat to that, of course, is that I'm here with Ali and Andy, and Phil and Sarah have had interaction with mediums as well, and will know this, is that mediums will tell you when they know that they are communicating with spirit. That's the only thing that we've got, is that anecdotal subjective evidence that you're presenting that says, I know that I'm communicating with spirit. I know it's not telepathy. I know it's not clairvoyance. So all I'm going on is your word that it is not telepathy or clairvoyance. Is that okay? But you see why I said you have to let me speak, and then the caveat, because it's not an attack at all. I love the idea of mediumship, and I've been involved in mediumship research now for decades, and I find it genuinely fascinating. But you asked if there's ever any moment that would convince me, and no, there wouldn't. But I think we've got to remain open-minded to it. Otherwise, we're just debunking, which is closed-minded.
So there could be no experiment that you could try and do that would possibly change your mind.
No.
So you couldn't.
No, definitely.
So you couldn't just say, I don't know, would do some tests on a brain before mediumship, as it were, and then if a particular medium started communicating with spirit, would you be able to see the different brain fluctuations and whatever you were testing? Would that
that would be amazing?
Would that be something that would work for you, or is it just be that the brain's working differently?
It still wouldn't.
It would.
No, I suppose
it would work for me. It would work for me because it would be interesting, but you just show that there's a difference in brain pattern or brain waves. That's all you show. They wouldn't necessarily prove that's mediumship. The other issue to contend with is that, I'm sure Ali and Andy have, situations where I'm going to ask you now, are there situations where you operate at your best, where you feel most comfortable when you're with people or in haunted locations? There must be kind of a state of mind or something that you've developed where you feel at your best in terms of being open to spirit. Because that's the other thing. I can design an experiment that would remove all other explanations for what's going on, but that experiment would be a cold clinical experiment that I would run in a lab that would not be the right environment that's conducive to mediumship, I would have thought.
I think I would... The best place for me is to be on my own completely, with a pen and paper, just drawing. I'm in my own space. I can do what I want. I've not got to, as we all do on the public ghost hunt, sometimes have to entertain or look after people. I can just draw and do that, and that works best for me. But would you leave, in terms of proof, Ciaran, as an example, it's just an example, if I presented you with a drawing that I picked up, and you then didn't know who this person was, and when you did your research, you found out that it was a great uncle of yours or something along those lines. Would that be more provable to you? Is provable a word? You know what I mean?
I don't mind using that word provable, and it's lovely you give that as an example, Andy, because that highlights kind of my point. It would be impressive, and I would love that. It would be absolutely amazing, and on some level, it might be personal evidence. But the question that Mickey was asking and you're asking is: would there ever be a situation where it proved to me that it's mediumship, even if you were able to do that, and I didn't recognise the picture, but at some point through kind of the wider family or even family that I hadn't discovered even, I found out that that picture matched a member of my family. It means that you've then got a source for finding the accuracy of that picture, and that means therefore that there are other paranormal explanations for that information that has produced that drawing. Even if you say that you have got that mediumistically, I would have to put my hand on my heart and say, I trust you, Andy, that that's where you got it. But in my mind, I would also be thinking, but how do I know it isn't some form of clairvoyance that's not mediumship? That because my uncle, that long lost uncle, lives out there somewhere and somebody has a photo of it, that you haven't tapped, when you sat with me, you haven't tapped into that photograph somewhere, rather than it being spirit. That's what I mean in terms of the proof.
Indirect communication, basically.
Sorry, Ali?
Indirect communication, basically. You've got direct communication, then non-direct. So non-direct could be on a different vibration, such as a psychic vibration, like sensing energy, basically. Because everything is energy, and energy is everything. So that's the way I go on, is the fact of there's two levels. You got your mediumistic bit, which I would say is direct, and then you've got on a psychic vibration where you're reading energy, I suppose, reading the room type thing, and that is on a non-direct.
Yeah. Yes, that makes absolute sense. And in terms of giving it those descriptions, those labels, it makes sense in terms of you describing those different forms of mediumship. But that's also what I'm saying, is that it's down to you to be able to say where you're getting that information from. And on one level, I would have to trust that that's where the information is coming from. But on another level, how do I know that that information that's coming to you isn't coming to you from that non-direct source, and therefore it's not necessarily mediumship? And it's not to take anything away from it, because again, like I keep saying, that would still be paranormal communication, which would still be amazing. And at the heart of it, given Mickey's question and given the Andy scenario that you created, if it wasn't for me being skeptical about all of this stuff, if I removed that skepticism and that constant questioning, if I was sitting with Andy and he produced that picture and I found out that that was the case, and it was something personal, that would be amazing. And that would then be the subjective evidence that I need, personal evidence, which is why I always tell people, when I'm talking about mediums and sometimes criticizing mediums, I say, but if you've had a reading from somebody and that reading is really, really accurate, I can only speculate about alternative explanations. Just guesswork, really. That's all it is. Because ultimately, the reading that you got, if you felt that that was real and you felt that that was for you, and you felt that the medium connected with somebody, then that's your personal experience. I can't take anything away from that. That's your personal subjective evidence. All I can deal in is speculation about other possible explanations. But a lot of the time, I won't even have that discussion, because we've got to recognize that when mediums give information, it can be very emotional and can be very significant for people. And so far be it from me, in my armchair skepticism, to say, no, it's all bollocks and, there are other explanations for it. That would completely ruin somebody's worldview, So, yeah, there you go.
So, Phil and Sarah, obviously we've got Ciaran's view on this. Is there anything that a medium could do to make you believe, if you don't believe at the moment, anyway, that they are able to speak with spirit on that level? Like a personal message, like Ciaran's saying, he wouldn't be able to just accept that as mediumship. So it was, would you be able to?
I've never said that I don't believe.
Okay. So, yeah, I wasn't sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we worked with Andy as well, like when we did Smedic, and he was there, and I'm always open to it. I'm not saying that I don't believe. I'm not saying that I do either. I think it's, now that I've listened to what Ciaran said, I completely understand and agree with what he says, that it could be something else. So for me, I'm still like this. There's been, ultimately, you've got to take the word of that person, of what they're saying to you. So I don't know, for instance, if I think back to, like, I've been doing this for a long time, and if I work with a medium that walked into a room that's telling me that they've never been to this place before, and then they say, oh, this has happened, and I can see this person here. And at the time I remember thinking, well, that sounds amazing, but how do I know that that person hasn't sort of looked into it or researched or anything like that? I'm literally, and same with like your stage mediums. I think that the way that they work, and often it can be quite open and wait for somebody to pick up on something. They've got a big audience in front of them. Something's going to ring true with somebody somewhere. And do you know what I mean? I think it is a clever talent. I watch people like Darren Brown, and I see how he does it, and it's things like that. So I'm really on the fence. I would love to believe it. I really would. I would think it would be an amazing if it could be proven, but I don't believe that it ever can be. Your turn.
Oh, I think it's very much down to trust. Whether, again, I don't think there can be ever a time where we're 100% certain that psychic abilities or mediumistic abilities that we're talking about now actually are bona fide and exist, purely because of the nature of it. So I think it's a lot of down to trust and how much you trust the person that's giving you the information. I mean, for instance, if Andy came up to me and said, oh, I've just picked this up and told me something, etc., etc., I'm more likely to have more belief in what Andy's saying to me, because I kind of know him a little bit, rather than somebody who just walks up to me and I've never met before in my life and says, oh, I've just picked this up, blah, 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 blah. So I think a lot of it is down to trust. But again, whether that is mediumistic abilities as we're talking about it now, I'm not 100% certain. But again, I think it's down to trust. If you could, trust for me.
I think
I will say though, probably at some point in time, the scientific community will come out with some gadget that will, one way or other, by just sticking your finger in this little hole and it go beep, and they'll say, "Yeah, you are psychic. You are mediumistic." It's not happened.
Yeah. Oh, watch this space.
So you never know. I'm working on it now.
I think I'm going to backtrack again and going to talk about how Ali, you said, and Andy, you said about how people can develop. So, and you both pretty much agreed on the fact that you wouldn't be able to just be on a ghost hunt and say, all of a sudden, I'm getting this coming through, and that person would then be sort of like, oh yeah, you're a medium, you know. That you both said you'd have to work at it, you know, you'd have to develop your skills. For me, I just think, who is teaching this, and where do they get that class from? Where do they come up with how you develop it? Where does that all come from? How does that originate? And what gives them that status to be able to say, this is how you do it? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, as I said, I started off I had many experiences when I was a child, then a lot of trauma as well with that, and then psychologists doing a lot of tests on me, saying I've got a chemical imbalance and everything like that. put it to ADHD, the whole lot. So when I got into the paranormal, and it's literally found me, and when I started researching it and going really actively investigating, and then all of a sudden getting told, boom, okay, would you like to be in this circle? I had to put obviously a lot of trust in, Richard, that I'm going to get, developed in the right way, in the right manner, because I hadn't any sort of experience with any other kind of mediums at that point. I was just, into the paranormal, investigating the paranormal, and then told that you've got an ability here, but it's not controlled. We need to control it. Would you like to develop more? And I just went, just went with the flow and went, okay. But Richard, I mean, he was a spiritualist medium. He was a spiritualist minister ordained in Wales through the SNU. So he kind of went through the SNU kind of teachings in a sense, but with his own, I suppose, his own twist on it, possibly his own personality in it. Maybe I don't know, but it was different to where I've seen other people like mediums within the SNU teaching when I've been to the spiritualist churches with Richard with that. So it's a little bit of a, maybe it's just his characteristics and everything, putting into his calmness and everything, and all his experience he's had as well. But I believe it's through the SNU kind of teachings, which is like Arthur Findlay College type thing. But it was very in depth, but it's very true. What we've all said here, you've got to have a level of trust. You're trusting that person, and I'm kind of giving and that sounds weird to say, but giving myself to a person to develop me within that way, So it's a lot of trust in it. But I get exactly what anyone's saying with this. It's absolutely how do I know that all the information he gave me about mediumship and everything is correct or whatever, So there's a lot of trust going into that. So 100%, I'm open to that, 100%.
Thank you.
I think it's pretty much the kind of analogy with it is like walk a mile in my shoes kind of thing. I think you would literally have to swap places with somebody who claims to be a mediumistic or a medium to understand what it is about it that gives them that opinion, if you like, that they are mediumistic or a medium or psychic ability, etc. And again, that's something else that we're not going to be able to do because we just can't swap places with each other. So again, it falls back down onto the trust situation.
It falls down to the trust situation, but I think you're also right, Phil. There's that's the only way, or one of the only ways that we can truly understand what it's like to be a medium if we're not currently a medium. And there's the potential, Ali has just said there about Stansted Hall or Arthur Findlay College, the SNU. There's the potential to go through some level of training and development ourselves to go through it. I will be genuinely honest and say that whilst I like to consider myself as open-minded, I am the worst person, I think, who can go through that form of development. And I have tried in various points, and I've joined various circles and done various things. And one of the reasons why is because of this scientific thing sticking in my head. It's not that I'm a cynic, far from it. I'm open-minded, and I hope some of the discussion this evening makes you realise that. I'm skeptical in the sense that I'm open-minded, but the skepticism means that I'm always questioning. And while some of the development that the SNU does can encourage that questioning, and I think that's okay, at a certain point there has to be almost a what's the word? Kind of an unbridled kind of acceptance and opening to the information that you're getting, or opening to the sense that you're working at an energy level or that sort of thing. So I agree with you, Phil. But also, I don't think it's possible for the two reasons. Number one, exactly what you said. We can't switch places with somebody. But if we were in a position to be able to learn mediumship and give it a go, I think it would be very, very difficult. And actually, Phil and I, we've got a mutual friend that tried it. If you remember Matthew Smith, he
Yeah.
was, he was a skeptic. He was in similar position as I was on a previous show that will remain unnamed, and he tried that, skepticism to psychic journey, and took a very interesting journey. And I kind of did a lot of interaction with him since then, and very much transpersonal psychology, and very experiential and very open to a lot more experiential sense. And he did develop, but it took a particular mindset, I think, to get into that. And that in itself, I think, is fascinating, that you need to have a particular mindset, and you either need to have, which we were talking about earlier on, that natural talent or the natural gift that's there and it just happens and then it's developed, or it's something that's innate in all of us and we need to develop it. But I still do think that you need a particular mindset and a particular way of thinking, and I don't have that. As much as I would want to, I don't feel that I have it.
You see, I will carry on from that. When I first got into paranormal investigation and ghost hunting, after seeing you two gentlemen at the bottom of the screen on the TV show, that's what got me into the paranormal. I hadn't had any experiences. I hadn't seen anything. I hadn't heard anything. Nothing moved on its own. And then as I got into it, the longer I was doing it, the more I was opening myself up to maybe experiencing something. Things started happening. I'd hear things. I'd see things out the corner of my eye. I'd see people moving. I look round and there's nobody there. Like you say, Ciaran, the more you open up and you put yourself in this situation, or even to you, Ali and Andy as well, do you think that would help? Is it the fact that it's like you're training yourself, like you're constantly putting yourself in that situation, your brain will learn, you are open. Do you think that is possible?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think your gut intuition is such a big thing. I think we've all been on an investigation somewhere, and our intuition has just said either go into that room or don't go into that room, or stand there or don't stand there. And when we do that and when we follow that, the more interaction we get. And I think all the mediums are just got a stronger intuition over a certain area, a certain piece of energy, a certain room. And there's every possibility, every chance that everyone can learn to do that. Yeah, so I think the more that you do it, the more that you separate yourself away from the logical world sometimes and working that more on that spiritual bent, you'll get more information that comes through.
Is that what you think, Ali? Is that how
Absolutely.
it works? The more you work.
The more you practice anything, you're going to get better at it. But then again, I've really tried with some things and got worse at things. But that was more academic stuff that I wasn't really great at. I'm more of a creative type of person. But I suppose going back to it, probably going to contradict myself or anything, but it's just, I just come out with stuff. But I suppose the fundamentals maybe have to be there, As Ciaran said, with that mindset, maybe the fundamentals have to be there before someone can kind of go that step further. But picking up a name on a ghost hunt, in my opinion anyway, doesn't make somebody just, you're now a medium, you go and do readings for someone, and you go into someone's house and do an investigation as a medium and go and trying to do spirit release and all that kind of stuff. It's like, whoa, what the heck kind of thing. But unfortunately, that does happen sometimes when they get carried away with picking up the name John, and someone goes, oh my God, my uncle's John, and he's passed away. And then the next thing, it snowballs and everybody goes, they're a medium. Then they think, I'm a medium, but they skip the development thing. They don't look into it. It's when we've done events anyway, and people have come up to me and going, I'm picking up on this or anything like that. And then they start then saying, I feel I've got this or anything like that. I've never ever turned someone away and said, you're talking absolute bollocks. You're not picking up that. Because you can never take away. No, because you can't take away someone's personal experience.
No, you can't. No.
If they say that's what fair enough. But what I have said is, if you are interested in any form of development, now I've got no patience, or I've had no patience really in the past to fully develop people myself. Andy's different; he's got a lot of patience. I've got possibly not much patience for that. But I have helped psychic mediums in the past with development because they've already had that fundamentals and everything being there, and they've already had a bit of training and development themselves, and I've just helped them with the fine tuning side. But taking someone from scratch takes a different type of person, possibly, and with a lot of patience with that, because it is a very long process. But I've always said to people, if you do want to develop, I can get you in touch with people who do teach, who will be beneficial to them. Or with my experiences with spiritualist churches and everything, at the time it was great and everything, and I'm not going to regret it. But would I go back to a spiritualist church, especially an SNU one? Possibly not. And that's just from personal experience that I've had. I possibly wouldn't. But it's up to the person, and I'd always say, here's what area are you from? Let's see if I know anyone in that area who could help you. Because I'm not going to just stop somebody and go, you can't do it. Do you know what I'm meaning? That's not fair. Someone could have said that to me,
Yeah.
I guess the difficulty is that you could take this discussion and apply it to any profession. And you could say, anybody could stand up and call themselves a psychologist potentially, or a motivational speaker, or a life coach, for example. Some of the professions are regulated, so you can't actually call yourself a psychologist unless you're registered with a certain organization or you've achieved chartership from a certain organization. So that's a regulation. With these other professions, so for example, life coaching, motivational speaker, etc., there's no regulation. So somebody could say, wake up one morning and go, you know what, I'm going to be a life coach. Website, life coach, brilliant. Here I am. I'm a life coach. The same can be said of mediumship. Like you said, somebody comes up with a name, they're getting really positive feedback from people, and they go, right, I'm going to become a medium. Website, here I am, medium. Social media account, I'm a medium. And there's no, not repercussions is the right word, but you know what I mean. There's no kind of comeback on that. They can continue to do that, and that's it. And I think absolutely this is a place where I 100% agree. So even with my skepticism about mediumship, I agree with you around there's a need for training. And whether that training is training with SNU, whether it's within a development circle, whether it's one-to-one, a mentorship or apprenticeship type model, I think that needs that. And it needs that because there are various aspects of what mediums do that you need to have that training. So I agree with you on that. I think the problem is, though, and I've only just thought of it now as we're talking, and only because of some stuff that we faced the last couple of weeks in the psychology profession, is that unfortunately also we are in a particular time and dealing with particular generations of people where becoming a particular profession or becoming a particular role like a medium is very much people thinking, I can do that now. I don't need that training. And it's part of the TikTok and the Snapchat culture of feeling as though I could just put myself out there and say that's what I am, and there you go. And it's as simple as that. So it's almost as though I have a little bit of sympathy for yourself, Ali and Andy, because of other people who will suddenly start to say that they're a medium, where you're in a position to go, but have you put in that time to really understand what you're doing? Have you done that training to really understand what is the difference between receiving that information from wherever versus your imagination? Have you really done that training and really done that understanding? And I genuinely sympathize with the two of you being in that position of seeing individuals like that just think, it's a fast food way. You can literally declare yourself a medium and that's it. And I think that's absolutely wrong. So, yeah, I think that's where we are. And I don't think there is no way round it, because I'm not for one moment suggesting that we regulate the role of mediumship. That I don't think that would ever work. But you're up against it, because there are going to be mediums out there, and unfortunately there are mediums out there operating highly unethically as well. And I think Mickey said it earlier, that there will be mediums out there who will be giving yourself and other mediums a bad name.
Yeah. And you do meet them quite often, especially on public events. Now, it's no offense to people who do public events. Andy, I know you do them. I've been on loads of your events, and they're not like that at all. They're not mediumship led. You know, like you say, you sit back. If you get anything, you'll draw, and your drawings are amazing. And I just want to go back to Phil and Sarah. Obviously, when you were running public events, did you have any mediums on your team, or did you ever get people say, "Oh, I'm a medium, can I join?" or anything like that to like lead investigations?
As a rule, I would say no, we didn't. We didn't have mediums, and again, the same with Are You Haunted? We did it purely because we wanted to be different from everything else that's out there, and give people a different experience, and again, a different show, if you like. We didn't want to be the paranormal investigators with a medium on the show, and there was no other reason apart from that. It wasn't that we had anything against mediums. It was just we wanted to be different. We did have a lot of people that would approach us asking if they could be part of our public events. We occasionally had a medium that would come along with us and do little bits, but as a rule, no, we didn't. It was just an occasional thing, wasn't it?
We had the odd guest who said they were sensitive, or they pick up on things like that. We'd obviously say to them, feel free to let us know what your impressions are, etc. But it's always something that, in that situation, we kind of take it with a pinch of salt. Don't dismiss it, because that's just downright rude.
No.
Yeah, if they're picking up on something, listen to what they're saying.
We very much, as a public event, we stepped back from everything and we let the guests have their own experience. So, we use like the spiritual side of things. We'd have like the Ouija boards and, the different sort of like spiritual
divination rods.
Yeah, all that kind of thing. We'd have the equipment as well, but we wouldn't put our hands on anything. We just let everybody do their thing and experience it as an investigator and not as a guest, if you like. It was there for them to make their own night, and whichever way it went. And quite often we would get people that would claim to be mediums. Whether or not they were, I don't know, but again, it boils down to knowing people and trusting people. We'd have special guests as mediums every now and again, but I think we just wanted to step back and let people experience things as what we would. We wanted to say, this is what, as a paranormal investigator, here's what you've got, here's the equipment, you go and do your thing, and we just stand back and be there.
Just want to say, anybody in the comments got any questions for these guys, please let us know. So following on from that, obviously I've worked with Ali a few times on investigations, and we're pretty much like you, Phil and Sarah, back to basics when we investigate. And because we're talking about mediums, Ali does not push that side of the investigation. If something's coming up, or he's feeling or gets something, he will bring it up. But he does not say, "Oh, Mickey, you got to do this. There's a ghost there and he's waving at you and he wants you to pick up that pencil." He's nothing like that. And the reason I'm saying this is because I would say 10 years ago, every team had a medium. Every investigation show had a medium. And obviously there was some great mediums on the TV. But I think it's like phased out now with investigation. Like, I think a lot of people were going more the way Phil and Sarah are going, and the way Ali goes, where it's basically no equipment. It's just see what happens. It's totally flipped a complete 180 compared with you have to have a medium on your team because that's what you have, and it's gone all the way over to I'm not having a medium. You know, do you think we'll ever get a balance of the both together?
Well, that used to be the common theme, didn't it? Even in events, you had to have the lead investigators.
Yeah.
You had to have the demonologist, the parapsychologist, the medium, the sensitive, the tech guy,
Yeah.
modern tech guy,
Tick,
and it's
tick,
like,
tick. Yeah.
mind blowing. So
Yeah.
it's kudos to Phil and Sarah for changing that up and saying, well, no, we don't want to go down that path and be like that. Let's be different. Quite right. And that's what nowadays on our investigations we've gone down the route of the dreaded YouTube. Well, it's not dreaded, but it's difficult. That's why I say dreaded. It's looming hard, and it's very difficult. Learning the art of filmmaking at the same time as trying to investigate and trying to connect at the same time. And I've got a camera here, I've got lights here, I've got everything here, trying to do it all. And I'm trying to film this, trying to think of the production level as well in my head, going, right, what we're going to do next, what we're going to do, and everything like that. And I even though I'm open when I do these investigations, when we've done all these places we've done, Mickey, for YouTube specifically, I've not picked up on a hell of a lot, but I've not intended to, because not everyone wants to hear a medium rattle on, and not everyone will believe a medium rattling on either, because they could think if I could come up with, which I have done on certain aspects of our videos, people could easily say, "Oh, he's googled that." Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you know what YouTube's like for their really nice, friendly comments. You can't be arsed with that kind of thing, especially coming up for 50. I can't be asked with that kind of shit, to be honest. I've just got to be honest with you. But if it's there, if it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not. And that's what I've always been like. If it's there, it's there. It's not, it's not. And that was the advice when I was in development. The first and only time I ever spoke to Colin Fry was to basically ask in my development about any advice he'd given. He literally says, "Be yourself, and if it's there, it's there. Fine. If it's not, it's not. Shut up," kind of thing. So I just didn't get the shut up part. But
Ciaran, we've got a question from Tracy. Do you think the science and mediums will work together to prove either way as a whole instead of butting heads? And do you think either way will ever be proved?
They already have for about 100 years. So if you look back at early psychical research, so before parapsychology even became a science, you had some very kind of illustrious Victorian scientists who were involved in research with mediums. They were going into seance rooms and they were observing what mediums did, both in terms of mental mediumship, giving messages, but also physical mediumship in terms of movement of objects, levitation, light phenomena, various things, spirit manifestation. So you had scientists working back then. Parapsychology developed kind of out of that, wanting to take the study out of the seance room and look at experimental work, and the focus was not on mediumship. But if you look at some of the work in the 1970s, you get people like Gertrude Schmeidler in 1975, who was doing some amazingly interesting work with mediums to show that they were able to pick up on information in a haunted location that nobody else could. And the way they did it, very, very simple methodology, was to find a location that was not well known. And she took a floor plan and put a grid over the floor plan, and then sent people who were just members of the public who claimed no ability into that location. They'd walk around a particular area of the building and they'd mark on the floor plan if they felt anything at all, and then write what the feeling was and what happened to them. And then for a group of sensitives and mediums, did the same thing. And what she was looking for was there any correlation, any match between what the mediums and the sensitives came up with what had been reported in the location many, many years before. in a location that people didn't know. Now, that's a very simple methodology, and a very simple methodology that she then showed that absolutely sensitives and mediums were picking up on something, and they were having the same experiences as the eyewitnesses before. So that 1975. You then fast forward about 30, 40 years to 50 years to now, and the question and the relevance of the question, do mediums and scientists work together? Yes, it's even happening now. So Ali mentioned about SNU, Spiritualist Nationalist Union, and specifically at Arthur Findlay in Stansted, the college in Stansted. Parapsychology colleagues at Northampton University, people like Professor Chris Rowe, Cal Cooper, are working with those mediums in the SNU to come up with ways that, from their perspective, they would understand more about the experience, more about mediumship, and potentially come up with a collaborative way to be able to show that mediumship works. But also look at the Windbridge Institute. A lady called Julia Mossbridge set up the Windbridge Institute. She used to work with Gary Schwartz in Arizona, but has now separated and does some work looking at mediumship and testing mediumship. So science and mediums have worked together. And those are just highlights, but those are key highlights. If anybody's interested, do look that stuff up. Those are key moments in the history of parapsychology where scientists and mediums have worked together. The caveat there is that even though, as part of my PhD and post-PhD, I did some of that work as well, I quickly came to that realization of what I said earlier on. You can't test mediums. You can test them for your own personal evidence, but you can't test them to show that they're actually communicating with the dead. And whilst I have a lot of respect for Chris Rowe and Cal Cooper and Julia at the Windbridge Institute in North America, they're trying to get to a point where you can test for accuracy. So it's almost a watch this space. I would encourage you to kind of keep in contact with those areas to try and get a sense of what's going on, because there's some research where they may come up with a protocol, a way of testing mediums, but I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Right,
you may.
One thing that's always really fascinated me was the Philip experiment.
Yeah.
What's everybody's views on that?
I love it. I absolutely love it. Philip experiment, a bunch of people sitting around a table conjuring a ghost, effectively coming up with a fake ghost that they were going to pretend to communicate with for a predetermined duration, and then at some point, predetermined point, the person faking the phenomena would stop and they would continue. So they basically conjured up a ghost. Yeah, I think it's absolutely fascinating. Really, really fascinating. And I know Chris French, the anomalistic psychologist who used to be based at Goldsmith, says it's a perfect example of how suggestion works. And I get what he's saying, and it is a good illustration of suggestion. But if you think about the phenomena that the group reported beyond the point where supposedly the fakery stopped, it's difficult to explain some of that phenomena through suggestion. And that's why I'm a fan, Sarah. So I'm glad you brought that up.
So the reason that I asked that question, and I'm going back to when we did the public events, there was a little experiment that I put together that it was very loosely based around that, whereby what we do is, as most companies do, I think, is you get your group of people, that your team would stay together. So say you've got 4 groups of public, they would stay together throughout the whole night, but we'd rotate on the team leaders, or we'd stay in a certain location and then the next group would come in. So what I did was I got them in and I told everybody to put down their equipment, and I kind of gave a little bit of a background on like the Philip experiment, but I'd say, right, I want you to all just relax and close your eyes, and I'm going to go round you all each one by one, and I want you to tell me what you're feeling. Can you see anybody? Can you sense anybody? Are you getting a name? And one by one, I'd go around everybody in the group, and we'd keep it to ourselves. And then I'd do exactly the same thing with the next group, and then the next group, and then at the end of the night, we'd look at what would happen and if the notes would compare and match up. So that's an interesting one, and we did get some interesting results. And sometimes there was nothing that would match up, but sometimes we would get, even down to a story of how that person died and what they did in their life and what the family were called. And, some of it, sometimes it would meet up in the middle, and that was really bizarre. And that's a good one to try if ever if you're out there and you want to try something different.
Yeah, really good controlled way of doing it.
I would definitely say it's about suggestion, though. But
how would you say it's about suggestion when I didn't give anything?
I suppose.
Yeah, Mickey. Now you put yourself.
Yeah.
I have, haven't I? within. Yeah, I don't know. This is like basically creating a ghost, creating a story, a backstory, a job, everything about that person. Yeah, and if enough people think it and have it in their minds, it creates the reality of this ghost did exist. Yeah, it's not. I don't know, but it does happen, and I reckon a lot of ghosts at these haunted locations are part of that. I'm sure somebody's created a story at some point, and then it's passed on to people over time, over the years, and then this person never even existed, but it's now like folklore. This definitely happened. This person was in this house. Yeah.
That happens a lot in the places we go, though, Mickey, isn't it? These abandoned places, because the explorers go in there, and then they make up a story. And the next thing it's called the whatever house. Well, I suppose we've dubbed our one the horror house. Oh, well, but that was more than the paranormal than what we uncovered. Not saying anything because it's out on Friday, so I'm not going to say.
Little plug. Yeah.
Oh, dear.
So I've got a question for Phil and Sarah. Can we expect a new series of Are You Haunted?
Yes. It's editing at the moment. We filmed it. It's all done. We just need to get it all edited. So, yes.
Yeah, we took a little break from editing. We filmed Series 5. It's completely done. But we just need to edit it now. So we're on it.
We're on it. It's on the way. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is one from Ciaran. Hannah, the child that is supposed to haunt room 5 at Jamaica Inn, was totally made up. It is not real, but has become the ghost, so to speak. I always tell people the truth. So how did that, Ciaran, can you just let us know how you think or how you've heard that story has come about then? Or has it just been passed on over the years?
But it's the sort of thing that, as seasoned investigators, we know of locations where there's a similar sort of thing, where people have reported, an experience or reported a story associated with a particular room or a particular location. And we know, as investigators, you look back through the history and you go, yeah, that came from a medium, or that came from an investigator who suddenly came up with this name or came up with this story.
Like the Black Monk.
Like the Black Monk, yes. Or Mary King's Close is a good example. If you've ever been to Mary King's Close in Edinburgh,
yeah,
and there's that room where people leave teddy bears.
Yeah.
And that little room, and that all comes from a Japanese tourist who claimed that she was a medium. Correct. And that she picked up on a little girl or something in there, and that just captured the imagination of everybody. So there are examples of this that we all know, but it's an interesting one because you then find in investigations people apparently finding evidence of that original character or that original made-up ghost, and that's what makes it interesting. Is then is the evidence fake? Is the evidence made up? Is the evidence a misunderstanding or a misattribution of what's going on because that original character or that original figure was fake? Or, controversially, which is something I'll never say, but my colleague Evelyn would say, is it a tulpa? is it that you've created a spirit because so many people are around there, like the Philip experiment, that effectively, that a story was created, but people believed in it and got into it so much that then phenomena started to happen, almost as though they created their own ghost, created their own spirit. But I'm just now thinking, shit, this is probably recorded, and you've got Ciaran the skeptic saying, "Oh, did people create a spirit through their own energy?"
It's fine. No one's watching.
I haven't gone to the dark side. I'm just throwing out the alternatives for what's going on.
So Karen said, I think it may have started in TV show in 2003.
There you go.
Ooh. Then people have put a story together. Paranormal Reports at Jamaica Inn started in the 1950s. Totally different when it is today. That's the thing when you've got history. A lot of time you have stories and real evidence to back up people that actually lived at that location, visited that location. So Oliver Cromwell, he's been at every pub, every inn in the country for hundreds of years, and how long can he live? All these wars.
You're getting free pints for a long time.
I know. There's a hotel near me in the next town. I investigated it once, and what they did in the restaurant, there is they had to leave a lamp on because it was said that in many years before, a young girl lived there, and she was obviously scared of the dark. She was only about 5 from what I remember, and she was walking down the stairs one night, and someone had turned her nightlight off, like on the stairway, and she fell down and died. Now, I can't find any evidence to back this up, but the restaurant, which is at the bottom of the staircase, always has to have a lamp on in there at night time as a sign to keep her happy. Otherwise, she gets upset.
Oh, I'd be turning that off.
I did. And then I felt really ill and I had to leave. So I turned it on again. So yeah, I don't know if she was getting back at me, but hey.
Did you have anything to eat?
I did, yeah. Yeah. So if no one's got any more questions, guys, we're going to start wrapping up. It's been an awesome chat. Thank you for everybody watching. Please give us some input. It's been really interesting, and obviously you two boys, the mediums of the team, this was in no way meant to put pressure on you or say, oh, mediums are fake and all this stuff. It was merely a case of, I've worked with some great people, you two obviously I've worked with you, and you guys are great from what you've given me and what you've told me from working with you, Ali and Andy. It was just a case of trying to get the other side, so obviously Phil, Sara and Ciaran, what they thought and their opinions on mediumship. That was all. There was no ill intent. I hope no one's offended by what anyone said. We all have our own opinions, and I think it's good to debate every part of the paranormal. That's why we love it so much.
One big experiment is the paranormal. No matter what your role is in the paranormal field, it's one big experiment. And so is mediumship, one big experiment. So is doing a seance, one big experiment. EVP sessions, experiment. Bringing a spirit trumpet to an investigation, it's an experiment. Everything's an experiment. This is the thing. But that's what I love about the paranormal. You don't know what you're going to get, and that's what's exciting. Unraveling a story, or what we believe or perceive to be a story. I
love that. I love that because Ali has now just admitted that we're all scientists. So
yay! I got there.
No, but it is one big experiment, the paranormal. You know what I mean? And let's just be. I'm very open and honest. I'm not going to just bullshit anyone. You know what I mean? It's very much where the paranormal, in my experience with it all, what we're doing is one experiment, and I literally say it in our videos. We do expect the unexpected, with the Hondex TV experience, but expect the unexpected with the paranormal because you just don't know what you're going to get. One night it might be absolutely packed. It might be absolutely. I've been on many nights where even events where it's been shocking. When I've been a guest medium with other people's teams and they've come to me and said, mate, you can't just turn around and say there's nothing here. And it's like, how? Why? I'm not going to lie. If you want me to lie, I'm the wrong medium for you. If I walk into a room and there's nothing there, there's nothing there. That's it.
Yeah. So how can people get in contact with you guys? We'll start with Ciaran because I think Ciaran needs to leave. How can they get in contact with you?
I'm very active on X. If you look up Ciaran O'Keefe on X, but also I've got a Linktree account. I don't know if people know Linktree.
Yeah.
Linktree, just look up Ciaran O'Keefe on Linktree and you'll see links to everything that I do at the moment, but also free access to all of my research articles as well, and podcasts and various things. But yeah, it's been brilliant. Really enjoyed the discussion, and brilliant to see Phil and Sara again.
You too.
Lovely to see you.
Yeah, cheers, Ciaran. It's awesome, man. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Bye all.
See you later, mate. Bye.
Ciaran.
Who's next? Andy, how can people get in contact with you?
If you jump onto X, either on Facebook or on the web, the Haunted Exchange, go them down to Hex. That's links to my personal pages for mediumship and psychic art, or you can come and join us on a ghost hunt, paranormal investigation, a haunted holiday, whatever you want, we'll do it.
They are good.
Can I just say something as well? If anybody's not seen Andy's drawings, man, you need to see these drawings. Those pencil art drawings that you do are fantastic, mate.
Oh, bless you, mate. The 5 is in the post, thank you.
I said to him before, I said, you should put all these in a book and release them.
Should do, mate. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
At the time.
I know. All comes down to time, yeah. We ain't got enough of it, have we?
I can draw, but I can't write the book.
And Ali, how can people get in contact with you and your team?
On YouTube, Hontex TV. It's literally written there if anyone doesn't know how to spell it. But yeah, Hontex TV on YouTube, Hontex TV on Instagram. I'm not a massive, huge fan of Facebook, so I'm on there, but I'm not a massive, huge fan of it. But it's okay. But it's all right just to get your content out into all the different little groups that probably doesn't even get seen anyway. But it's another place to put your videos out, to be honest. You know what I mean? But yeah, YouTube, Hontex TV, and Sadie and I have got a big investigation. I say big investigation, it's just an interesting investigation at Ciaran next month with the awesome Paranormal Monkey and, of course, Beardo from Beardo Gets Scared. So that's coming up next month. And I think we might make a full weekend of it and go investigate a haunted bothy in Wales.
Ooh.
So yeah.
Nice.
It's all good.
What about you guys down the bottom, Phil and Sara? How can people get in contact with you?
We're on just about every social media that is going, I think. But yeah, Facebook, Are You Haunted? I'm going to say that I've not really done an awful lot with it for a long time because we've had a bit of a break from things.
Yeah. You need it sometimes.
We do.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean to say that we're going to disappear. We're absolutely not. Series 5 is on the way. I've not seen any of the other series. We have those up on Pluto TV, which is live streaming. You can download the app, get it on your smart TV.
Andy's on a couple of them.
Yeah. Mickey, you're on some as well, obviously. Yeah, YouTube, Instagram. But like I say, if you go on there and you think, oh God, they've not posted for ages, that's probably because we're just not, we haven't, basically.
You're busy. You've got a life. Yeah.
We've been and had a bit of a holiday and lived our life a little bit, but we will be back with bells on.
Yeah. So, guys,
stick with bells on, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's a little doggy.
Just appearance.
That's your mascot.
I don't know if you could hear him whining, but it was
Yeah.
There was some noises that were dogs, not us. Most of them, anyway.
Yeah, so thank you very much, guys, for watching, and please make sure you go and subscribe to all these lovely people that have been on the panel tonight. Go book an event with Andy, the Haunted Exchange. I was there last weekend, Septimalic Prison. Go watch Ali's new video out this Friday, 8 p.m, I believe. And stay tuned for Are You Haunted Series 5 coming very soon. Make sure you stay tuned for all of the updates and notifications. And for me, please subscribe to my channel. It means so much. I did have a new member join the team at the beginning. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Everyone's likes, comments. You guys are awesome. And stay tuned for Septimalic Prison video next Monday, hopefully, if I can finish it. So yes, guys, thank you. See you in a bit. You guys are awesome. Thank you.